Welcome everyone to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is in preparation for trading on March 15th, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so as usual, we will start off by taking a look at our Forex factory calendar here. We had some news. We had President Draghi speak today, retail numbers that came in slightly below expectations, and then crude oil inventories, GDP numbers for New Zealand dollar, they have come in weaker than expected. However, looks like at this moment, or just even overall today, commodity currencies kind of held their own. So they didn't really, we had positive data come out for Canadian dollars. So they kind of held their own, and we saw euro and pound actually drop more than the commodity currencies. So coming up here, we have news in this London session tomorrow. We have Swiss National Bank, the LIBOR rate, which is the interest rate. They are negative at the moment, and it's not expected to change right now. And the monetary policy statement. So that's it. We don't have anything else in the London session. And then in the New York session, we just have Empire State Manufacturing Index, Manufacturing Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. So no red news, just orange news here. So this news is also important because it does show the state of the economy. However, it's not as critical as the red news that comes out. So aside from the Swiss franc, Swiss National Bank here, there is no major news coming out. All right, so let's move on to the charts here. We will start off with our euro dollar. All right, so the euro dollar here, we actually had, so we are making lower highs here for the euro dollar. So we have a bearish candle close. It's not an engulfing candle, but we are making lower highs. So right now, market is in this downtrend at the moment. So it's holding on to that trend line. And as a result here, the bias for euro is to the downside. So the target here would be into 123.14. It could go all the way into the bottom at 122.80. So what we could see here is we could see price push up a bit, potentially into that, and then drop. But the bias is to the downside for euro dollar. So this is where we are. Price is reacting at pivot point right now. It dropped, held the low, pulled back a little bit into the pivot point, and now I'm looking for a further drop. So the target here, the first target would be this 12300, about 123.10 level, and then into the bottom of the spin, which is 122.80. So biases to the downside for euro dollar. Pound dollar here. Pound dollar, we had a neutral candle close here. So price dropped, it went up, dropped, and then closed exactly where it opened. So we have this spinning top doji here, which basically means there's indecision in the market, and this price could go either way. So that's a neutral candle close. So for this one as well, we have been seeing a market making lower highs. So overall trend is to the downside. And with this one as well, I am expecting price to drop. What we could see with this one would be the push back up into, we could see something like that, a retest of the high and then a drop. So we had a double top here. So we could potentially get a triple top because price is sitting a high up there into that level. But overall, I'm looking for price to do a test. And as long as it stays below the 140 level, I'm looking for price to drop further for pound here as well. Looking at our daily here, looking at the 1 hour, we had a double top here. Price dropped, so it's just gone back and forth. So that's why there's no real clear direction. But because it hasn't broken the high in the last couple of days, chances are it would drop. And the target here would be the S1 level, 1.3920 level. And so that would be the first target, the low of the day today. And the next target would be into 138.50 level. So those are the two targets to the downside. But basically, I am looking for price to drop for pound as well. Aussie dollar here. Aussie dollar has been interesting. We had a big pin bar, and since then it has dropped, and now it's just going sideways here. In terms of our candle close, the big pin here shows rejection, but the price has held above the 78.50 level. So this one could go either way, but the rejection shows, the big pin shows that price is not getting accepted up there. So we could see price push back up and then drop here. The bias would be more to the downside, so it will be more neutral. But I'm looking for this type of a move. So price goes into the 7,900 level and then drops from there. So a retest of the same level as this other pin is on the other side, and then a drop from there. But I would be looking for a bearish move as long as price stays below the 0.7900, especially if the US dollar strengthens. If it strengthens across the board, so let's say pound dollar drops, euro dollar drops, so this one can drop as well. So the bias would be more to the downside. So I'm looking for a push and then back into the 78.50 level as the target. New Zealand dollar here, we had negative numbers come out, so that was the drop there. But we see twice the price rejected that level. I'm sorry, there was okay, my audio feed there for the news. Okay, so with this one, twice a rejection, we have a pin bar, so I'm looking for price to drop. The target would be the previous low here from 2 days ago. 72.80 will be the target to the downside. That will be the first target. If price drops further than 72.50 will be the second target to the downside. But overall, I am expecting price to drop here. As we can see, we had a double top and then a lower high, and now price has dropped and looking for a further drop here. So we have this inefficient move, which means price could push up higher into the bottom of these or even into the into this pivot point. But overall, I am looking for a drop for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here. Dollar CAD is interesting. So we are essentially in this big range at the moment. So just get rid of these. So we are in this range at the moment. We are still sitting at the top of the range. Price didn't really do much. It just so price did push down and then pulled back up. So this shows that the sellers are still there. And in this case, so I'm looking for price to, because we are at the top here, as long as price stays below this 130 level, I'm looking for price to drop and looking for price to come back towards the middle of the range. So in this case, the target would be back into this previous resistance level, which I'm looking for it to turn into support now. So 1.2900 would be the first target. And then we could have the second target potentially into 1.2880 level will be the second target to the downside. So we'll just keep this 1.2900 as the first downside target, but the bias is to the downside for dollar CAD. Euro Swiss franc here, this one is just going sideways. So it looks like it still has that bullishness in it because the candles are quite small. It doesn't really have any true direction at this moment. So price has pulled up, or it has gone up. Now we could see a drop back into this previous support and resistance level at 1.1640 level, and then a move to the upside. However, if we get a candle close basically above here, so if we could get a bullish, if we got a bullish candle close here, then price would turn bullish. But right now it is just in that sideways mode. We have seen rejection from the high. So if price goes into the high again, I would be looking for it to drop from there. until such time that we get a bullish engulfing candle close, then it would turn bullish. But overall, it is still that has that bullishness intact in it. But if we see euro dollar drop, for example, this is likely to drop as well. One of the reasons this may be going sideways is because of the Swiss franc monetary policy statement coming out tomorrow. So we will have to keep an eye on that to see how that comes out, because that will have an impact here. So all the Swiss franc crosses will be impacted by that news. So keep an eye on it. Euro here, pound Swiss franc, looks like we have hit the high here and price rejected that. So there are multiple pins now. So I'm looking for price to drop in this case. Now, like I said, because the Swiss franc, Swiss National Bank is coming out with the monetary policy, that will of course have an impact. But overall, this one, we could see the price go into the high, or we could see the price go into this previous pins here, which is at 13200, and then drop from here. So I am looking for price to push up a bit, because there's still bullishness in this candle. It's not completely bearish, but the large pin on top shows that price was rejected. So I'm looking for price to go up into either 13200 or 13240 level, and then drop from there. And target would be 1.3130 in this case, which is the next support and resistance level. Dollar Swiss franc here, this one has dropped as well. So we saw this big pin on the upside. It is holding above this previous support, so it hasn't broken the support in the last couple of days. So the big test will be to see if the support gets broken. And then once the support at 0.9420 gets broken, then the bias is to the downside after that. And I'm looking for 0.9350 level, which is the bottom of these pins here. But I would like to see a break of the support before really being too negative on this. But this one does show rejection. So overall, it is bearish. But to go heavily bearish, I would like to see a break below 94.20 and then a continuation of that to the downside. So 93.50 will be the target to the downside once 94.20 level gets broken. Pound cat here. Pound cat was interesting today. This was the short that I took, which unfortunately went right into my stop loss, which was right here. It just nicked my stop loss and then just dropped from there. So basically looking at our, looks like I've got too many. So this one still has that bullishness intact in it, because we had a big bullish candle close here. Then price has pulled back. So it's not completely bearish. So we could see a pullback back into this 80-30 level, and then another move to the upside. But right now, price is holding above the previous high, which means it could go higher. So this one is bullish, but the best level would be to see if the price holds above 81.8035, and then we can look for price to go to the next level. And it looks like we'll have to go into this weekly here. Okay, so the next level we're looking at is 81.89. So let's say 8,200. So that will be the next level to watch out for. But I would like to see a drop in this first. So basically drop into this 80.35 level and then a further move to the upside. So like that, this acting as support. So if that happens, then looking for further move to the upside. But because it's holding above the previous high, this one is still looking bullish. Pound yen here, this is the trade that I am currently in right now. So we had a nice drop. We had talked about in the trade room, I had mentioned how all the yen crosses were looking weak. Actually, I wasn't in this one. I was in the dollar yen and euro yen before the news came out, and then I closed it because I didn't want to hold it. But for now here, based on the daily candle close, this is bearish. So what we see here is that price has rejected this level twice now. and was not able to break the high. So now we have a bearish candle close. So I'm looking for price to basically drop back down here. And the first level will be 147 or 147.50 is essentially the target to the downside. So the bias is bearish for pound yen here. And looking at the 1 hour, so we saw price drop. It did pull back all the way into the pivot point, held below the pivot point. So now I'm looking for a further drop here in pound yen. So euro yen here, looking for a drop here as well. So we see that the price was not able to break the previous high. In this case, looking for a drop. First target would be 131.00, and the next target would be 130.80 level to the downside. So the bias is to the downside. So that's euro yen. The bias is to the downside here as well. So this was the one that we were in, or I was in, and it was I was looking at this. It was holding below the pivot point. So this is why I like the pivot points. Really, price was holding below the pivot point, and I was looking for it to drop further. Unfortunately, I just had to close it out with the couple of pips there. Not really much because the news was coming out, but it was a nice drop. And then we had, now I'm looking for, again, the retest here and a further move to the downside. Dollar yen, same scenario. I am looking for price to drop. So this one here, we had a nice pin bar here yesterday. I was looking for a drop. So we did get that. Now we have a bearish candle close. So I'm looking for a further drop in this one as well. The target here would be 105.90 level. And then we could have a target below this one as well, which is 105.40 or 105. Actually, let's go with 105.50 level here. So that will be the second target to the downside. So that's dollar yen. The bias is to the downside. Aussie yen here. This one, we have 2 pins into the resistance level. So that's bias is to the downside, looking bearish. And the target would be 83.20 level to the downside here. And once that is broken, then we can look at 82.70 or even 82.50 level. But that may take a while to get there. First target would be 83.20. CAD yen, this one is a bearish as well. So we had a great rejection, 3 days, it tested it, and then it dropped from there. So with this one, the bias is also to the downside, and we're looking at 81.30 as the target to the downside, and then this one could drop further, and we are looking at 80.80 level. So the overall, the bias is to the downside. Last one, New Zealand yen. Again, all the yen crosses are biased to the downside right now. So with this one, price stayed below this previous support resistance. This support here turned into resistance, could not break above or could not hold above. So now we saw a drop today and looking for a further drop, which is already kind of underway, and the GDP numbers kind of helped with that. The negative GDP numbers for New Zealand dollar helped. So with this one, looking for price to drop into 77.30 level, and then we could see a further drop into 77.00 level. So the bias is to the downsides for New Zealand yen as well. All right, so that's all I have. Any questions or anything to add? Okay, if not, perfect. So we will call it a wrap. Currently, I am in 2 trades here, pound yen and euro yen. So looking for both to move lower. So it looks like we have about 20 pips in the trade. So I'm gonna move my stop to break even +2. So this way, there's no risk left in the trade. So the worst thing that can happen would be a break-even trade. So I'm going to adjust my stop loss and bring it down, bring the stop to a break-even level. So I will do that, and that's all I have. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you again at 4 a.m. Eastern for our London session. Bye for now.